Hello everyone, Maurice here, and today I bring you a final meta report for this season. So for the final era for Axie Infinity Origins Season 7, and not much to say really. Healing Pulse, full stop. That is basically the meta, at least at the very top. But having said that, we do see or start to see quite a diverse meta outside of the top 800. So as long as you're not at the top few hundred players who are really trying to climb to the top, then to be honest, for the rest of us, the casual Origins player, then actually you do see quite a range of different type of teams in the lower bracket in terms of challenger, and of course even further down. So yeah, in a way, like it's even though you see the meta is like this, it's still not all bad news. Sure, of course, things could be better, but in a way, you can think of it as the problem is kind of limited to the top 800 players. Okay, and the other final thing I do want to talk about is about new players coming, and that's something that I must say is a bit surprising for me. Okay, so let's just get into it. Uh, so compared to last week, so I think there's close to actually 10,000 players who actually joined. Of course, most of them, as you probably know, is at the lowest bracket, lowest two brackets, right? So it's below 200 victory star, but still, it is like the number is definitely increasing for this week for some reason, and this might be something to do with, I don't know, the Ronin in general, or it could be, of course, like this the crypto bull run or something. I have no idea, but maybe it's a sign that people are taking notice of Axie again. Maybe it's just trying out Axie. Yeah, so maybe that's like one reason why we see so many new players. Of course, not many of those new players progress too much, but still, it is a good sign in some ways. Uh, yeah, so hopefully, well, let's just see if, well, as we head to the next bull run, hopefully, then yeah, whether Axie Origins can actually replicate the success of Axie Classic that happened a few years ago. So of course, that all depend on really how well Axie Origin is gonna be as a game, and maybe actually people actually move back to Classic instead. Who knows? Yeah, so yeah, really nobody knows because there are a lot of development in classic as well with the guild kind of thing, and yeah, you might wonder then is Origins really the main game or classic is becoming back to the main game? Who knows? Okay, so then let's just get into the archetype. So to be honest, not much. The top, of course, is this Healing Pulse. I think the main two that you can see also up there are Brutal Claw teams and also Sando's team. So Brutal Claw, followed by Sando, then I would say followed by Purge, in that order. And then, of course, further down, you start to see things like Sponge or Jinx or other things like Poison, Fury Aggro, and Nominate. So that's, yeah, Anemone is actually quite a strong team at lower bracket, to be honest, right? But once you get up there, it's gonna be pretty tough. Okay, but you can also see that once you get below 2400, victory star is like let's say 2300 or below, you can see actually there's quite a lot of different archetypes. People are playing different things, especially if you are even lower. Even when I say lower, is like below 2100, you do see a very relatively diverse meta, I would say, right? Where Healing Pulse actually is not the main archetype at that kind of victory star bracket. Okay, so in terms of the win rate, so this is where, yeah, you can see, of course, Healing Pulse is the main one, but there's one thing to note is that you can see here different archetypes peak at different points, I would say. Let's say Sandals and Brutal Claw, they kind of peak, well, that they hit a limit. I won't say peak, right? It's hitting a limit at, in this case, 25 to 2600 victory stars, whereas things like Feather, Purge, Poison, Anemone can get up to 24 to 2500, and then that's kind of the limit. For Sponge and Jinx, maybe Fury Aggro, it will be about the 23 to 2400 victory star. So different archetypes is effectively getting us reach a particular limit based on the power level. So that's where the best team of the archetype can get to. That's basically how it is. But of course, for things like sustain, triple R, spikes, it's gonna be a bit tougher. Um, okay, so one thing that I do want to know is also like the existence of so-called local meta, and for example, at 23 to 2400, that victory star, which is I think well, maybe a few hundred players, or maybe like 100 or 200 players, right? That meta, right, in that particular local meta, anemone seems to be working pretty well. So yeah, that's definitely something that's interesting to note is that if you are playing in that bracket, then maybe you might want to switch to an anemone team. And of course, once you climb up, then things will get tougher, and then you might want to switch to another team. Uh, Okay, so and then in terms of matchup, of course, Healing Pulse, you do see actually Brutal Claw and Poison can actually do pretty well against Healing Pulse. Of course, this is not saying that Healing Pulse is weak against those teams. Well, in a way, on average, they are, right? So this is where, in terms of interpreting this figure, it is about everyone in above 2,000 victory stars. So meaning this is you can see this as more of an average Healing Pulse team at 2,000 plus victory stars. How they match up against other average Brutal Claw team or average Poison team and so on. Of course, the best the best Healing Pulse team will probably have still a positive win rate against the best Brutal Claw team or the best Poison team. But yeah, but still, this is more a general kind of overview. Yeah, so not much really to say here, and the meta is kind of similar to before, and let's just hope that we will get to a new meta soon. Yeah, so I just want to kind of conclude by saying, first of all, let's just hope we will have a shorter off season this time round, and the other thing I hope is, of course, to hopefully see some new balance changes soon after the season end. I don't see any reason why we need to have more time just to delay in terms of releasing of the new balance changes, because there's really just not much for players to do after the season ends. So the other thoughts that I have is that sometimes I think the season, or as a whole, can be quite long. Of course, each era is only 2 weeks, right? But it's kind of like close to 2 months. And yeah, I do like the three-era system, but sometimes I do feel like the pace of the release of new content can be a bit slow because you only do a big release uh, uh, before every season, right? That's the final. Once the changes are finalized, then for the next 6, 7 weeks, it's kind of just like seeing how the meta will play out, how the meta evolves, right? But it's not really any new content in that sense. So yeah, I do hope that maybe there could be more changes even like during the season. I know there will be some problem with like breedings and stuff like that, but I do feel like yeah, if you together improve the breeding system and maybe even like Axie burn and stuff, right? At the end, more frequent balance change, I do feel like then that will be keep the player base a lot more engaged. Of course, there are a lot more problems to resolve in terms of breeding and everything, but still, I do feel like that's a better way to go. At least that's my opinion. Anyway, okay, so that's pretty much what I want to talk about this time, and hopefully I'll see you soon in another video where I can actually talk about new balance updates. Okay, until then see you next time.